Hi, Hi friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ashley Aireonna, and it is important that my microphone is on. It's also important that I get this banner off the bottom. Very professional. The 49ers just had their schedule released, and I'm pretty excited. I'm in that mode of the offseason where you become very optimistic, and I guess let's say if last season didn't happen, every fan would be predicting the 49ers to go 17-0 with their schedule. They have the easiest strength of schedule, and that's not just like my opinion. The NFL ranks how hard your schedule is projected to be. Now, obviously, these are projections. We don't know who's going to get injured and stuff like that. But we have the easiest strength of schedule compared to every team in the NFL. We lucked out in a couple ways because we finished dead last in our division last year. We're facing all the teams that also lost their division. So we're facing the bad teams. Also, the NFC West in general is going against an easier opponent in the conference this year. So very excited about that. Like I said, 49ers, if you're just joining, easiest strength of schedule. I want to say hi, what's up, everyone? Daniel says hi. My dad says hi, and Israel. A lot of regulars in the chat haven't gone live in a while, so very excited by the look of the schedule. But we're going to go through and we're going to predict what we think the 49ers record will be. For a lot of you who don't know, sometimes I stream with Tom. He's taking a couple weeks off, but he did tell me that his record prediction is 10-7. So he's way more pessimistic than me, and he's usually more correct than me. So we'll try to not go easy on them and give our honest predictions. Before we get to the games, though, I wanted to say the 49ers play 5 primetime games, and it is possible that that Week 18 game, for spoiler, it's against the Seahawks, that Week 18 game might be bumped up. So we could have six primetime games, but right now there's 5 on the schedule. And a bonus for the 49ers, if we thought about last year, a lot of people were talking about rest differential and how the 49ers had a really hard strength of schedule. So we played multiple teams. I think it was 3 teams coming off bye weeks. This year we play no teams coming off bye weeks. And we ourselves actually have like a mini bye week coming off week 4. We'll get to that, but playing a team that's playing on Thursday night. So we have the rest advantage in multiple of these. Not only are we facing bad teams, I mean, teams that have losing records, but also we have more rest than most of the teams that we're facing. 49ers do not play on Christmas, and they do not play on Thanksgiving, and they do not play overseas. There was a lot of comments, people wondering if they were going to play in Ireland. I think it's the Vikings. They have 2 back-to-back overseas games in Dublin, I think, which is kind of crazy. The 49ers played they played in New Mexico 2 seasons ago in 2023. I actually heard that was a really fun game. I don't know why the 49ers don't have any overseas games. Maybe it's the schedule makers trying to make up for the fact that because we're a West Coast team, the 49ers are a West Coast team, they're automatically going to be higher on the mileage that they travel because you're flying farther. Like if you're starting from the middle of the state, you don't have as far to go if you're going east or west. And so West Coast teams always have a farther like mileage differential. But even with the fact that we still are, I think we're number 5 in the amount of mileage that the 49ers are going to face, a lot of the traveling is early, which we know that Jed York actually, and the Yorks in general, actually ask to never have week 1 at home because Levi's gets so hot. They don't like to have that first game. Dublin and London, it's an hour flight. They will stay there. I know the Vikings will have the advantage, I think, in that second one in London, because obviously the team that they're facing is going to be flying there. But it's still crazy to have 2 games overseas and then have a team that has none. You'd think you'd want to break it up if you were the NFL. Sorry, I got distracted replying to Steve-O's comment. Okay, what I was saying though with the primetime games, so some of the early let me get back. 49ers, Jed York, they asked to not play the earlier season games at home because it gets so hot in Levi's. So if you look and you see that most of the travel is earlier on in the season, first of all, that's good because the 49ers are an older team. So if they are going to break down and get injured, it's going to be as the season goes on. And there's far less traveling at the end of the season than the beginning of the season. And it's made that way on purpose. We can't say like, why are they never open the season at home. Jed York specifically asked for that because it can get so hot in Levi's. Hold on one second. I want to pull up the schedule so we can react to it. And it's right here on. Okay. So 4 out of the 5 primetime games are going to be against East and Central Coast teams. And the interesting thing about that, primetime is obviously nighttime. So if we're facing, Chicago, if we're facing a team that is from the other side of the country, their body clock, like even if it's 6 p.m. our time, their body clock, the game is going to be ending at like midnight their time. So some of the early travel games, they're early body clock games, meaning that they're like 10 a.m., 1 p.m. Or sorry, they're 1 p.m. East Coast and Central Coast. Like the Tampa game, I think, is a 1 p.m. game. So that's 10 a.m. for the 49ers body clock time, which is not the like ideal time that the 49ers want to be playing because they're not like fully awake yet. A lot of times you hear teams they travel, to the East Coast, they're going against like the Jaguars or some bad team and they lose and you're like, why did they do that? And it's like they literally just like weren't up enough. Their body wasn't prepared enough to be in that game, which, that's on the players and on the coach. But there is data to support that when West Coast teams travel to the East Coast and they play the earlier time slot, the 10 a.m. time, it's 10 a.m. our time, it's 1 p.m. their time, but the West Coast teams are more likely to lose those games. Stanford actually did a study about this. But in that same study, they went over primetime games, and East Coast teams are more likely, I think it's West Coast teams are 63% more likely to win primetime games because for the East Coast teams, it's super late at night and they're tired. Even if here it's not, their body clock is tired. They're usually in bed by that time. What primetime games did we get? We'll go over it one by one, but it's against the Rams, against Atlanta, against Carolina, against Indy, and versus Chicago. So that first one, Rams, is obviously West Coast versus West Coast. But Atlanta, it's going to be like 9 p.m. to midnight their time when they're facing the 49ers because it's at home. Carolina, same thing. Also, it's the Panthers. No offense. I don't think they're going to win. And then Indy and Chicago. Is that right? I think that's right. Okay. So let's get into, I want to see, is that like all the, let me see. I want to make sure I have all the good things out of the way before we get into the actual schedule. So I talked about the early body clock games. There's 5 of those, but they kind of cancel out with the 4 primetime games. And then I did tell you that okay, let me double check. So week 5 at the Rams is Thursday Night Football. That's a primetime game. And then versus the Falcons at home, Sunday Night Football. Versus the Panthers at home, Monday Night Football. And the Stanford study went over teams that played on Sunday and Monday night. And like I said, West Coast teams, 63% of the time more likely to win. So versus the Panthers, that's week 12 at home. Interesting thing about that is it going to be raining week 12? So what is week 12, like late November? And then week 16 at the Colts, Monday Night Football. Oh, it's at the Colts. Interesting. Monday Night Football. I don't know if we get the benefit if you're at the Colts. I don't know why I wrote that one down. And then the Bears, Sunday Night Football. I'll get to this. I think this is worst case scenario for the 49ers facing the Bears at the end of the season because you have to imagine that like Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, and that offense and that defense are going to be kind of rocking and rolling by the end of the season. To me, when it comes to these young teams with new coordinators, new coaches, new head coaches, you want to face them early while they're still kind of scrambling to get a better head start on it. But okay, we're going to go through one by one and predict the season schedule. Just so you guys know, the preseason games, the first one is going to be against the Broncos, and they do have their training camp like, you know how every preseason they have a collab. What is it called? Joint practices. Duh. They have joint practices. They actually had to cancel their joint practices last offseason. It was supposed to be against the Vikings because they were so injured coming into the season, which is horrible. Like, what a bad omen. We should have known then. They had to cancel the joint practices because they didn't have enough people to fly over there and go against the Vikings. But it was supposed to be against the Vikings last year. The year before that, it was in Vegas against the Raiders, which was really fun. I went to Vegas, and that was the first time I had ever been. I don't gamble, but it was still fun to go visit. Anyways, they're going to be at home. They're remodeling all of their fields, so they have much bigger fields. Right now, they only have one 80-yard field. They're going to have two 100-yard fields so they can fit everyone. That's why, if you wondered why have all the joint practices been not at the 49ers have not held joint practices at Levi's since 2017, which was Kyle Shanahan's first year. It's because he hated the field and he said there's not enough room for everyone else. If you guys have heard of the Vikings fields, apparently they're huge and beautiful. But Jed York is putting a lot of money into making the fields better and bigger. So they are holding the joint practices with the Broncos this offseason before the season starts. So then they have the preseason against the Broncos. I'm sure the joint practices will happen like 2 days before. It usually happens the weekend before, and then they play the preseason on that Sunday, which is kind of interesting. Normally joint practices are before the final game. So I don't know why they're playing the Broncos first, but preseason game number 1 is against the Broncos. Then they're playing against the Raiders and then the Colts. So, or not the Colts, the Chargers. So, that's interesting. Someone says it's effing BS that it's too hot. I can play a game. What a bunch of losers. Stop paying them so much money now. It's the fans. The fans it's not the players. The players don't care where they're playing. They play in Miami where it's way hotter than Levi's. Just to respond to this comment, Jed York he requests that the 49ers don't play at home week 1 because fans threaten to sue Levi's because it's so hot. So it's not the players. The players don't care. They will play just to players are not losers. They don't care where they're playing. So just sorry. I see you're getting heated about that. The players absolutely don't care about playing in the heat. The fans don't want to go sit in Levi's because it's not necessarily doesn't have great infrastructure and it gets very, very hot in the sun seats. And a lot of people faint. They've had people pass away. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but if you're drinking too much and you're not staying hydrated and you're standing out in the sun, it can be dangerous. It can be a lawsuit for Levi's. So they just like to get it out of the way, but it's nothing to do with the players. The players are, they don't care where they're playing. Like I said, they play in all sorts of weather. But anyways, that's going through the preseason and all the little tidbits I have. We're going to start and I'm going to write this down. And I'm going to have my record prediction and we'll compare it. Like I said, Tom Jensen, I'm going to try to get him on next week. He's writing a book and trying to take a little bit of time for himself this offseason before we start again. But I would love to have him on because, like I said, he has the 49ers going 10-7. Did you invest in DR? I don't know what that is. Oh, maybe he's talking to my dad. Sorry, I'm going to stop reading the comments and I'm going to focus on this now. Mitchell Ness does say that he could see Bryce Young playing better. we'll get to that when we get to that. All I was trying to say is maybe I'll have Tom on and he can give me his reasoning for why he has the 49ers losing some of these games. Like I said, we did this last year. Tom predicted that the Rams would beat us both times. He also predicted that the Seahawks would split with us. I thought we were going to sweep the division. We ended up being last in the division. So I'd love to hear his reasoning. But the 49ers, they start the season in Seattle, week 1 against the Seahawks. And is it bad? Early September, is it bad? I think that that's a 49ers win. It's Sam Darnold. Now, I will say I went to the Vikings game last year where Sam Darnold was starting. And I remember I was leaving the hotel. I was going down in the elevator and there was other Viking fans in the elevator. And they were like, oh, yeah, we're here. And it was right after they had moved off of Kirk Cousins to get Sam Darnold. And I was like, ooh, I was like, you guys must be nervous about this game because it was either week 2 or week 3 that the 49ers were in Minneapolis. It was really early on in the season. And I was like, yeah, that sucks to have to go see, your team lose because Sam Darnold's starting. And they kicked the shit out of the 49ers. And I saw those people later at the hotel lobby and they were like, we won. Oh my God, Sam Darnold is great. And I was like, okay, I don't know if Sam Darnold is great, but I definitely didn't expect the 49ers to play so bad. And that was in a dome. Now, Sam Darnold is going to be the quarterback of the Seahawks, but who the hell do the Seahawks have on offense? I don't think he's going to, live up to Sam Darnold from last year. He might not be horrible like he was on the Jets, but I think if you can't beat the Seahawks, you're not going to be a good team. That's just how I feel. I have them winning week 1. If you've ever wanted to travel to Seattle, I think week 1 would be a great time to go. Maybe you could get like a cheap baseball ticket because September they're still doing baseball, right? So that seems like a fun trip. Going to Seattle early on, it'll probably be warmer in Seattle. Seattle can get cold, but it'll be still warm in September. So Brock Purdy doesn't have to worry about the rain. I have the 49ers winning that game. I think Christian McCaffrey will still be healthy by week 1, hopefully. Now, obviously, run defense is, I feel like, going to be one of the slower things for the 49ers to work on. They just drafted 5 rookies that are going to help with the defense, and I think that they will end up being an improvement, but you're going to start slow. Like, people can't expect that Michael Williams, he's 20 years old, that he's just going to hit the ground running. Alfred Collins, like, these guys are going to have to take time to get into a flow. So I do think that the defense will start slow, but Sam Darnold isn't much of a runner anyways. I'm just not scared of Seattle. So I have Seattle as a win. I'm going to check the comments really quick. Miguel says he's predicting 13-4. And then, okay, you guys are talking about investing in the comments. That makes sense. I was confused as to what was going on, but love you, Daddy. Okay, then there's week 2, also an away game, and it's going to be in New Orleans. I really want to go to this game. I've never been to New Orleans. I wanted to go last year, and then the 49ers missed the playoffs. I was like, if they go to the Super Bowl, I'll go. And then they literally didn't even go to the playoffs. Who the hell is going to be the Seahawks or is it Kyle Shue? Because Derek Carr just retired, right? For the Saints. So week 2 Saints, Kyle Shue. I don't know how I feel about him. Now, Kubiak is that still their offensive coordinator? No, Kubiak was their offensive coordinator last year. See, so they have a new offensive coordinator, a rookie, but like 27-year-old quarterback. I have, the defense, the one thing that I feel like the Saints have been able to keep throughout the years is a pretty good defense, but I'm still going to give that. It's in a dome, so I don't think the weather will matter much. I'm not scared of their offense. Their defense, it could give Brock Purdy trouble. I'm not at all worried about the Saints offense. I'm worried about the defense, but I'm crossing my fingers and thinking I'm going to give the 49ers a win because I'm thinking that the 49ers offense will still be able to hold up week 2. So now, I mean, we're going to need a big step up. It's going to be Brock Purdy. Obviously, Ayuk isn't going to be there. They traded Debo, which I do think is positive to not force feed Debo, but hopefully those targets are going to George Kittle. And I do, George Kittle's older, but like I said, earlier on in the season, I knock on wood, don't think he'll have any injuries. If Christian McCaffrey is healthy, like even if it's an overuse thing and he ends up flaring it up, he won't, I don't think, have flared it up by week 2. Now they're going to need Ricky Pearsall to show up, Jacob Cowing, or the, wide receiver that they just drafted. Those guys are more speed guys. It'll be interesting to see what they do on offense, not having Ayuk, not having that X receiver, and not having Debo. Like I said, I think they're going to target George Kittle a lot more, but the ball has to go somewhere else. Jawan Jennings, I love him. I think he's a 2. A lot of people think he's a 3. I think Jennings can be a 2. He's not a 1. So it'll be interesting to see the wrinkles that the 49ers have on offense. They also let go of Jordan Mason. They obviously got the running back from Oregon, Jordan James. So are they going to have a platoon of Christian McCaffrey and Jordan James? Because when Christian McCaffrey came back last year, even before he got, re-injured himself, he didn't look like the Christian McCaffrey of old. So I feel like a lot of this is banking on Christian McCaffrey being healthy. And this is a 28, turning 29-year-old running back who's had bilateral Achilles tendonitis and knee surgery this offseason. So, or maybe not knee surgery, but knee issues this offseason that had to be rehabbed. So I just talked myself. Should I put the Saints as an L? Let's put the Saints as an L. Should I put the Saints as a winner or loss? I said loss at first. Lone Wolf says the YouTube game is hard. I love your content and enthusiasm. Awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. Let's go Niners. Thank you so much, Lone Wolf. I think the 49ers defense is going to keep the Niners in games, but the offense is going to be tough to score. I mean, that's what I think about. That's what I think about when I'm talking about like the 49ers and what they're going to do. Like, if you think about last offseason, they actually ended up ranking pretty high in offensive efficiency, but every time they got into the red zone, they could not score. They could not score in the red zone. My only thing with them not scoring in the red zone is they were really force-feeding Debo a lot of the time in the red zone. And I'm wondering, with the addition of guys like Farrell, like tight end 2s that are solely for blocking, that maybe they're going to have Kittle in the passing game way more, because they went out and got tight ends that can block. So maybe they're not going to have ask Kittle to block as much. And instead he'll be involved in the passing game. So, okay, I'm going to keep the Saints as a win. Saints QB sucks. We will probably win. Mitchell Ness says, I agree. But where I am going to go maybe rogue is then the Cardinals. The Cardinal game is week 3, and that one is at home. Week 3, Call of Duty isn't out yet. The Cardinals added a lot to their defense, and I think Kyler Murray is a hell of a talented quarterback. I think he's such a good, like, talent-wise, he's like top 5 talent-wise. I don't know why he's just like not, I don't know if it's his mindset. He kind of falls apart. A lot of people, they joke about the Call of Duty thing. But I think that they'll split, but I'm going to give the home. Should I give the home? Maybe I should do the home. Should I do the home game? I think the 49ers. No, I have them 2 wins. They travel back. I'm going to say the Cardinals game at week 3 at home is a loss. Should I do that? Or they're not going to lose their home opener, right? I'll give them but the run defense, they're really young. Like I said, 5 rookies. And Kyler Murray ran right past Nick Bosa and scored a touchdown like immediately that first game that we carded him. Someone says the Cardinals game is an L. Young defense won't be ready yet. I agree. Okay. Thank you. See, I'm trying to be fair. I put the Cardinals game as an L. I hope that's not true though. What a bad, first game. Okay, then week 4 is the Jaguars. Like I said, easy ass schedule for the 49ers. I'm definitely giving this a win. Both times that the 49ers have faced the Jaguars in recent years, they've absolutely stomped them, whether their team was injured, healthy, on a roll, not on a roll. If I remember correctly, in 2023, they actually had lost, I think, 2 games going into their bye week, and then they came back and they played at Jacksonville. They played the Jaguars and they smashed the Jaguars, and then they went on a roll and won like every game up until the Super Bowl. If you guys remember that. That the Jaguars were their get right game. So I have the Jaguars being a win. No offense to Trevor Lawrence. Now Liam Cohn, he did good things with Baker Mayfield, and that Tampa game went into overtime last year. So I believe in Liam Cohn. I think he, definitely turned around Baker. Could he do that with Trevor, and then they end up winning that game? I guess. I just don't think they have a great offensive line. I just don't think they have a lot of talent around Trevor. But maybe I'm wrong. But I'm gonna put it as a win for the 49ers now. But I like the coaching move that they made, and I'm not out on Trevor Lawrence. I'm out on the Jaguars. Does that make sense? It's like Matthew Stafford. I feel like if Trevor Lawrence went to like a really good team somewhere else, or like Sam Darnold last year, put Trevor Lawrence on the Vikings, I'm picking them to like be contenders for the Super Bowl. At least they're definitely going to the playoffs. So I don't think Trevor Lawrence is horrible. I don't know if he's like the generational talent he was talked up to be, but I don't think he's horrible. I just don't know. Even if Liam Cohn is a good coach, I don't know if they're going to be hitting their stride week 4, of that event. I think it kind of takes a year. So anyways, I have the 49ers beating the Jaguars at home, and then Thursday night football. So this is it's a home game, so they don't have to travel. So that's good. The Jacksonville game is a home game, and then they play Thursday night. Is that in LA? I think it's in LA. But that doesn't matter because LA is like a second home to the 49ers. So the Rams beat the shit out of the 49ers last year. But up until last year, the 49ers and Rams games have always been super competitive. And the 49ers usually won those games up until last year. Now, last year, the Rams beat them, and they didn't have Puka Nacua, and they didn't have Cooper Kupp. Now they have Puka Nacua, who I think is going to be healthy, obviously, depending on training camp, but it's going to be healthy. And they have Devontae Adams. And I don't think the 49ers have, like, who's going to catch up with Devontae Adams? Is obviously, I love Lenore. I feel like Lenore's probably talked trash and is excited for that matchup. But our corners and safeties are a lot smaller. Also, don't forget, Malik Mustafa, our safety, he is injured, so he won't be there to start the season either. They have Nick Martin. They drafted some people, and they obviously have Jair Brown. Jair Brown had a really big step back last year. Even if he was to get better, I don't think he'd be. I'm going to give this one to the Rams, is what I'm saying. I think the Rams just got significantly better, and they beat the 49ers last year. So if they already were beating the 49ers and they've gotten better, adding Devontae Adams, who maybe isn't like prime Devontae Adams, but is still very fast and very good in my opinion. I don't know. I think at the very least, the Rams split with us. I'm going to give the week 5 game to the Rams. Then there's Tampa. Tampa. I'm going to give Tampa to the 49ers. I think the 49ers win against Tampa. They obviously beat Tampa last year. Now, that was a really close game. It went into overtime. If Jake Moody didn't he miss like 3 back-to-back kicks? So if he makes one of those kicks, they don't go into overtime. But it was competitive. They just lost Liam Cohn, though. Baker Mayfield has had a different offensive coordinator. I think for like 8 separate years, he's had to have a different offensive coordinator. I don't know. They have some good guys. I'm just going to give it to the 49ers. That's just how I feel. I don't know. I'm not super terrified of Tampa. I like Baker. I know my dad, he's in the chat. He's a big fan of Baker. I don't know. I think there might be some regression losing Liam Cohn, but that's just me. Then week 7 is against the Falcons. That'll be interesting. Oh, so see, they have pretty quick. So they have that week 5 is Thursday night, and then week 7 is Sunday night football. And then Falcons. How do we feel about their quarterback? Some people love him, and then other people I feel like don't believe it at all. Why does it say Falcons Colts? Michael Penix Jr. Will he run all over the 49ers, or will the run game be effective by then? Because once again, I think they're going to start slow, but I don't think that they'll stay slow. They have a lot of offensive talent, but they just haven't put it all together. Although didn't the Falcons beat the 49ers the last time they matched up? Which is crazy because I think the 49ers were a way better team then, and the Falcons were a way worse team. Okay. I just talked myself into it. Falcons win. Is that crazy? Maybe. Then we have week 8, Texans. Ooh. CJ Stroud. D'Amico Ryans versus Robert Saleh. I know that's not how it is exactly, obviously, because the defenses don't face each other. CJ Stroud had a big step back last year is the issue. Tank Dell, I don't know. Is he going to be back? I don't think he'll be back by then. I can't see Robert Saleh allowing the 49ers to lose this game. I feel like coaches have so much pride and like they don't want to lose to their underlings. I'm going to give this to the 49ers, but I could see that being incorrect because I think the Texans might have a better offense if CJ Stroud. It depends on what version of CJ Stroud we got, right? Like year 1, he was incredible. Last year, he took a big year back. Right now, we have a comment that says, I truly believe Baker Mayfield and Trevor Lawrence are a hell of a lot better than people make them think. Both of them have gone through a ton of OCs in their journey. I completely agree. I feel like when you see guys like Sam Darnold, you have to be or Matthew Stafford, two guys that completely failed. I would say Sam Darnold completely failed. Matthew Stafford did well in the Lions, but never had the success of winning a Super Bowl like he did the first year he went to the Rams. It really exemplifies that. It's an L against the Texans. The Texans have a better and more experienced defense. I see what you're saying, but they also traded away their left tackle. So can Nick Bosa do what he's paid to do and actually get to the quarterback? And I mean, by the time that week 8, I feel like the rookies should start to be flowing by week 8, like this around the middle of the season. Maybe you're right. Like maybe I shouldn't expect the run defense to be, miles better until after the bye week. Is that what you would think? I put it as a W, but I'm sure that's one of the ones when I talk about Tom and how he has the team going 10-7. I bet Tom has the Texans as a loss. I'm optimistic at this time of year. But I might go back and change it, You're right. It's weak. Yeah, I know young defense. I don't know. Okay. Then against the Giants, what a dumpster fire of an organization. I have that being a W because it's the Giants. Now, Brian Daboll is definitely coaching for his job, and I thought he was a hell of a coach. Was he just playing against or was he just, coaching Josh Allen and that's why he was so good? I don't know. But I have them beating the Giants. And then so that's week 9. So then week 10 we have the Rams again. So I think I said that I thought the 49ers would split with the Rams, but now I'm not so sure. Rams week 9, early game, 1:25 p.m. I had them losing to the Rams or I had them. Yeah, that Rams loss. Should I have the Rams as a win by now? Week 10, Matthew Stafford could be hurt. That's the thing. I feel like the Rams have a young defense. Like they did everything a year early. So they have a better defense. Like it's not as young as the 49ers, but last year they kind of revamped it. So the defense is going to be young and healthy. But on offense is like, I think the 49ers have a better chance at losing the first time they face the Rams because Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams are still going to be healthy. But by week 10, it might just be like Puka Nacua out there, you know. So let me put this one as a W and have them splitting with the Rams. I feel like that's fair. And then week 11, back-to-back division games. Week 11, they're going against the Cardinals. And I think I had the Cardinals. Yeah, the 49ers losing to the Cardinals at first. Now, by week 11, has Call of Duty came out, is Kyler Murray kind of crashing out. He kind of takes a nosedive the second half of the season. So I'm going to have the 49ers beating the Cardinals, splitting the Rams and the Cardinals. I think that's fair. I think they're going to have improvement. You know, this is me obviously hoping that Christian McCaffrey stays healthy. Now, I am really nervous about that second running back position. Is the Jordan James running back guy going to be good enough, or Isaac Orendo? Are they going to have like a tandem? Is Christian McCaffrey going to be healthy by week 11? Will Ayuk be back? I don't think they'll have Ayuk back until the bye week. Bye week is week 14. Yeah, so I don't think Ayuk will be back yet, but still, I have the 49ers splitting the Rams and the Cardinals game, so I gave them W's early on, W's with the Rams and the Cardinals back-to-back week 10 and week 11, but then I have them losing earlier on. So then they face the Panthers on Monday Night Football. What a horrible game. Why are the Panthers on Monday Night Football? Sorry, I know someone earlier said that they feel better about Bryce Young this year. Maybe didn't they just get a really good wide receiver? So maybe he'll be better. I think he closed out the end of the last year pretty well, and they have a good wide receiver. I'm still going to give the 49ers the W against the Rams on Monday Night Football. Like I said, there's also that body clock thing. So it's going to be at home, and the Cardinals, it's going to feel a lot later to them than it will the 49ers. So then week 13, Browns have a super hard schedule, by the way. Have you guys seen that? I have no idea who's going to be the quarterback of the Browns. I hope it's Shedeur Sanders. I don't like what happened to him with the draft and everything. Although I do feel bad for that Gabe Davis guy, because since they drafted Shedeur Sanders, which I think him falling was I think they were trying to, teach him a lesson, teach his dad a lesson. I think that was kind of BS. Maybe he wasn't a first round talent. I don't think he should have gone after Gabe Davis. I think he was at least a third round talent. But after they drafted him, all their social media, all the reporters at the little mini camp that they just had are all about Shedeur Sanders. No one cares about Gabe Davis. I feel bad for him. Because he's probably like, dude, I didn't ask to get drafted. They just did this. And I feel like the coach and the GM drafted Gabe Davis to try to dissuade the owner from making them take Shedeur. Because did you guys see that viral clip after they picked Shedeur Sanders? It cuts to the draft room of the Browns, and Kevin Stefanski, the coach, and then the GM look miserable after they drafted him. So, anyways, is this going to be, hold on. So if it is Shedeur, and is it at, I think it's in Cleveland. So week 13, when is week 13? Does it say? November 30th. It literally says in bold. Can you guys see that? In giant bold letters, it says the date. And I was staring right at it. Have you ever done that? You have your phone in your hand and you're like, where's my phone? That's what I just did. I said, where's the date? And it said November 30th. So it's going to be cold as hell in Cleveland. I'm going to be insane, and I'm going to put that as an L. I know that we have no idea who the quarterback is, but if it is Shedeur, He could execute. I don't know anything about Gabe Davis. Are they going to bring back who's that guy they had last year? The one the old dude who always what is his name? How am I doing? Niners usually have trouble with the Browns defense. That's what I'm saying. I'm dropping things like crazy. It's because the bottom of this I realize is broken, so I'm trying to not Dylan Gabriel. That's exactly what I meant. 10 a.m. So, anyways, I have them losing to the Browns. I think that the Browns have a good defense. And it's going to be cold and maybe rainy, and Brock Purdy doesn't do good in that weather. Should you pay a quarterback 55 million, 55 million, whatever they haven't won in Cleveland? Is this a real stat? They haven't won in Cleveland since 1984. Yikes. That's crazy. That's an insane stat. That has to be some magic. Anyways, I have that being an L. Week 14, they have a bye week. I think that's a good time for them to have a bye week, especially if they're, in the hunt to make it to the playoffs. You want to have a middle of the season, later season bye week. You never want to have it too early. Are you watching? I know I am. I went a little bit later because so many people went live right when the schedule released, and I didn't want to have to fight for people to watch my stream. But I will. I feel like it's probably still the first quarter, or is it the second quarter? I'm doing a short little one, and then I will give an instant reaction to the Warriors game. I don't spoil it for me. I know Stephen Curry isn't playing. Kuminga did really good 2 games in a row, which I was really impressed by. I thought after his game 3 performance, I didn't think he was going to be able to do it again yesterday, and then he did. So maybe Kuminga will go off again. They said Jimmy Butler was sick yesterday, or the day before yesterday, which is why he played poorly. Jimmy was non-existent. So we need to have him score. They need to have, obviously it's good if Draymond Green can make the occasional couple points, but he should not be the guy that when the shot clock is running out, you're passing it to Draymond Green to make a 3. Every time they did that, I was like, that is not his specialty. Him and Pods need to get the ball the hell out of their hand. Draymond needs to not get ejected. They need to have Kuminga scoring. Buddy, they need to get Buddy in a rhythm. Pods, why the hell is Pods, playing 40 minutes and getting under 7 points? But yeah, they need playoff Jimmy. They need playoff Buddy is what I called him a couple games ago when they actually won that game. Anyways, I hope they win because I've been excited watching the Warriors. I'm such a fake fan. I don't like, maybe I don't not like, but I'm not super interested in regular season basketball. It just seems like there's a game every day and it doesn't seem as important. But postseason playoff basketball is a lot more fun. They also play more defense in the postseason. Anyways, getting back to here, because I'm sure there's people watching we don't care about the Warriors. But if you do care, I'll give my instant reaction to this game, which I'm crossing my fingers hoping they don't lose, and then maybe Steph can play the next game if they don't lose. But they might lose, and then it's over. So anyways, I just talked about the Browns, and then I said they have a week 14. So 14, hold on. 14 bye. I'm keeping score because sometimes I can't remember in my brain. Oh, and then they come back off the bye and they face the Titans at home. That's hilarious. So they're going to be feeling good. The thing that sucks is if they lose to the Browns, and Mitchell Ness said he confirmed they haven't won in Cleveland since 1984. And also it's going to be cold and in November. So they might go into the bye week really upset, but then they'll have their bye week. They'll, get a little bit revamped, a little bit healthier. They'll come back and play the Titans. That's a win. They're beating the Titans. What are the Titans? I know that they just got Cam Ward, but I'm not scared of the Titans. Maybe by then, I will say week 15, like I said, with these teams that have the new quarterbacks, new coaches, new offensive coordinators, you want to face them earlier because the earlier, the less together they are. By week 15, Cam Ward might be in a rhythm. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the fact that I'm like Titans, maybe they're more in a rhythm by then. I just it's more of a team thing than Cam Ward. The Titans have not scared anyone in years. So then they have Monday Night Football against the Colts. I feel the same way about the Colts. They're going to beat the Colts. Who has been scared of the Colts at all for the last, multiple years since Andrew Luck retired, basically. Now week 17, that's against the Bears. And I feel like some people are treating this Bear games the way that I just talked about the Colts and the Titans. I think the Bears could be good by then. They have Ben Johnson. I don't think Caleb Williams is that bad. Think about what Ben Johnson just did with Jared Goff. They got hella talent around him on offense, and they have a pretty good defense, and they're going to have almost an entire season. And the Bears might be in the playoff hunt because they're in a bad division, so they're going to want to win. I'm going to put L. I'm going to put loss to the Bears on Sunday Night Football. Now, maybe it won't actually be an L. Maybe it'll just be a really good game. What I'm more saying is I don't think it's like 49ers are going to win, no problem. Like the way that I just thought about the the Titans and the Colts, where I'm like, easy win. I do not feel that way about the Bears. Either the Bears, like some Lone Wolf said in the comments, it's a 50-50. It's going to be a good game. I love good games, by the way. Like, I'm obviously a fan and I want the 49ers to win, but I hate games that are like blowout games. That goes for any sport, basketball, football. That's why I don't really love college football. I feel like college games, there's always one team that has like 10 points and one team that has like 40. And you're like, well, the game is over. I like competitive. I think that's why I like playoff basketballs, because usually like the last like 5 minutes of a playoff basketball game are like oddly super important. They could be like, either team could be winning or losing all game. And then like the last quarter, it's like, okay, they lock the hell in and can score like 15 to 20 points easy. They go on runs. Obviously, football is a little different, but I want it to be an interesting game. I think the Bears game will be an interesting game. I'm putting it as a loss because I feel like I've been pretty generous with a lot of these. So I'm just going to try to even it out and put that game as a loss. And then they end in Seattle. So like I said, they start in Seattle they start against Seattle in Seattle. They end against Seattle at Levi's. I love division games at the end because if you're in the division race, that means week 18 really matters. Or if you're in the playoff hunt, like it could end up really mattering. Now, I don't think the Seahawks are going to be any good next year. So it'd be more fun if it was like the Cardinals or the Rams, because then it'd feel like it really mattered. But I'm going to put that as a W. I think the 49ers sweep the Seahawks. Is that stupid? Maybe. I thought they were going to sweep the Seahawks last year. They ended up last in their division. So sometimes at this point of the year, I'm a little bit optimistic, but that is what I think for now. I think, okay, let's see. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Geez, I definitely have them going around 10. I have them going on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game win streak before the Browns game, which then I have a loss, and then their bye week. Okay, so that's 10, 11, 12, 13. So, and then, so I have them going 13-4. I mean, it's a really bad, it's like, people are probably thinking like that is super generous, which it is. Obviously, the 49ers went, 6-11 last year. They were really horrible, but 49ers had tons of injuries last year. Now, I don't think we should bank on Christian McCaffrey with his bilateral Achilles tendonitis to be healthy all year, but I just think that they're going to be better. I think the defense, like I said, it'll start slower, but they should round out and end up getting way better, at least as a run defense. As the year goes on, they're going to be more in a rhythm with Robert Saleh, and that's standard. Now, what will be interesting is Trent Williams going to be healthy? Because they kind of have like opposite things going on, right? Like on defense, they're younger, so you think they're going to get better as the year goes on. But on offense, that's where they have Chris McCaffrey. He's older and injury prone. George Kittle, older and injury prone. Trent Williams, older and injury prone. Brock Purdy, not older, but injury prone maybe. So they have a very easy schedule. I think they should go 13-4. Matter of fact, I think if they lose more than 11 games, like someone should be fired. Like if a lot of people, I saw Grant, he predicted that they go 10-7. Like I said, Tom Jensen from Sports Illustrated, we stream a lot on my channel. He predicted they go 10-7. I think that's unacceptable. With this, like their opponents are they have the easiest schedule in the division. Their opponents, I mean, they are facing the Falcons, the Saints, the Tampa, Jaguars, Bears, Titans, Panthers, like New York, the Giants. Like, what a joke. Like, this is an easy schedule. They should be able to win most of these games. Give or take, like I said, maybe some of the offensive players get hurt towards the end of the season, but then that's when the defense, I think, should be rounding out. Maybe the defense can hold them in it. I'm really nervous about this offense just because I don't think that, like, I don't think we can bet the house. Like, if I was, gambling, I wouldn't bet the house on Christian McCaffrey staying healthy. I knock on wood. I hope he is. I'm not wishing injury, but I think we can predict that he might get injured again. And then Brandon Ayuk, if he comes back, I think he'll come back after the bye week, which then means he'll be back for the Titans, Colts, Bears, and Seahawks. Like I said, I have him winning 3 out of 4 of the last games there. And then then maybe he'd be back for the playoffs. That could be really wonderful. A lot hinges on this offense. Is Jordan James, the running back, or Isaac Guerrero, the running back that they already have, are those two running backs capable of filling in for Christian McCaffrey if he does go down? Or will Kyle be smart enough to use them in a platoon so that Christian McCaffrey doesn't get injured and isn't out due to an overuse injury? A lot hinges. The 49ers, when they've either missed the playoffs completely or gone all the way to the NFC Championship game. Under Kyle Shanahan, those are the two options. They've either made it to the NFC Championship game / Super Bowl, but like lowest NFC Championship game, or completely missed the playoffs. There's been no in between with the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan. So a lot of their success, the years that they have made it to the Super Bowl, they've had a healthy starting quarterback. Is Brock going to be healthy? A lot is going to rely on Trent Williams. Trent Williams did not play the last 7 games of the regular season last year due to an ankle injury. So is Trent Williams going to be healthy? The rest of the O-line, I mean, they lost Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks isn't a phenomenal player, but I know people are excited about Ben Bartch. He looked good in 1 game, but he hasn't played multiple games, so we don't really know what he's going to be. I'm still very worried about this O-line. I'm still really mad that they didn't go out and get Drew Dolman, a good center. So if Christian McCaffrey is healthy and if Brock Purdy is healthy, I think they should easily go 13-4, if not more, and make a playoff run. If the offense isn't healthy, if they can't score in the red zone, if George Kittle goes down, Kittle's going to be very important. With Ayuk out, obviously Ricky Pearsall, he's going to need to make an impact. He was a first-round pick. He should want to be a number 1 sorry, I just saw that Tom was in here. Tom, if you're just joining, I've talked about you so much on the stream. And I know that I told everyone that you said 10-7. I went through it and I have 13-4, but obviously I run on the optimistic side, but I'm aware that I can be wrong and that you're usually more correct than I am. But I love you and I miss you. Anyways, defensively, I think they'll start slow because they have a new defensive coordinator. They have 5 rookies that are going to need to make an impact. Malik Mustafa's out for an undisclosed amount of time. We know that he won't be back for week 1. So I think the defense will get better, but the offense, and because they're younger, but the offense is older and more fragile. So if Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy are healthy, I could see them going 13-4 and making a run in the playoffs. If Trent Williams gets hurt and then Brock Purdy ends up getting hurt because the O-line, they have refused to address the O-line. If Christian McCaffrey goes down because Kyle Shanahan runs him into the ground. We saw last year Isaac Guerrero can't be a number 1 guy. I'm not saying he's a bad running back, but he can't carry the full load. And John Lynch went on Chris Sims' podcast and talked about how much they loved Oregon's program. But I don't know, Jordan James, he's the running back that they drafted from Oregon. I don't know if he can be, a number 1 every down running back. He's a lot slower than Christian McCaffrey. He's a lot smaller than Christian McCaffrey. So my fears, especially as the season goes on, are on offensively. And then also the division games. Like I said, I do have them, and I know Tom would disagree with me on this, but I have them beating Seattle, sweeping Seattle twice, That's just my weird disbelief in the Seahawks, and I was proven wrong last year. The Seahawks ended up winning, and they almost won the game that they lost where DK like didn't catch the pass. So they almost sweep the 49ers, and they did split it. But I have the 49ers beating the Seahawks twice, but then I have them splitting with the Rams and the Cardinals, 2 early season losses. In my opinion, the defense won't be completely able to handle Kyler Murray early on in the season. And same thing, the defense won't be able to handle Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams early on in the season. But I think later on, there's a better possibility that Kyler Murray kind of has his regular collapse that he has as the season goes on, and that Devontae Adams or Matthew Stafford is, not able to participate. And those are just predictions. We don't know. Maybe they stay healthy the whole time, and then both the Cardinals and later, I will say, I said, Kyler Murray gets worse as the season goes on, which is statistically true. But last year at the last game of the season, he beat the 49ers. So that didn't affect him last year, at least against the 49ers specifically. So divisionally, I have them, like I said, splitting with the Rams and the Cardinals, and then I have them beating the Seahawks twice. I'm optimistic. That's how I have it. I have a lot of these, quote unquote, easier teams as wins, but the ones that I think other people have as wins would be the Browns and the Bears. And I think Browns, it's going to be late November. Brock Purdy in that weather, I don't trust him. The Browns have a good defense. Who knows who their quarterback will be? I still think that's an L. And then the Bears, I have a lot of, I think Ben Johnson is a hell of a coach. And I have not written off the Bears quarterback. So that's how I believe. Let me really quick read Tom's comment. Hi, Ashley. It's an easy schedule, but inconsistent Niners team with high injury risk as the season goes on, particularly CMC and Trent. I was saying that. Tom is so smart. I think they'll cause their own losses. They did that a lot last year. 10-7 last wild card. Tom, I love you so much. Thank you for the input. I'd love to know. I have 13-4. I wonder which 3 teams I have them winning that you don't. I bet you have them winning at least once in Seattle. I bet they're division games, right? Because you have them last in the division. Which makes sense. I mean, they were last in the division last year, and I think the Rams and the Cardinals got better. I don't know much about the Seahawks, and I feel like I always write them off. I believe that too. I don't believe in Sam Darnold, is what Lone Wolf says. I just think that the Seahawks offseason was very underwhelming. If I was a Seahawks fan, I wouldn't feel great about it. Now, I don't think they're going to do horrible. I just think they're going to be like an average. I think they're going to be like 10-7, 8-9. That's how I feel about the Seahawks. So my final record prediction is 13-4. Maybe I'll be able to convince Tom to come on a little bit early. Like I said, everyone, we love Tom. We miss Tom. He's working on a book and a bunch of stuff before the season comes, and then he'll be coming back on regularly. But maybe I'll be able to get him for like a quick reaction later on this week. I'll ask and get back to you. But if not, I'll make sure to read his report on si.com. Follow him on Twitter. It's NinerCast. And maybe he'll paint out why he thinks the 49ers are going to go 10-7. I think they're going to go 13-4, but I'm optimistic. I think this is going to be a much, much better season than last season. I have a lot of belief in Robert Saleh. I do like their draft. The only way I could see it, completely collapsing is the offense, the offensive line. If Trent Williams gets injured like he did last year and misses several games, like I said, 49ers under Kyle have either made the NFC Championship game or missed the playoffs completely. So if you have to bet on one of those, what would you bet? I'd bet that they'd go all the way to the NFC Championship game this season. They missed last season. To me, it's unacceptable for them to be that bad again this year. To me, you'd have to get there'd have to be people fired. And maybe, Jed York doesn't think like me, but that is how I think. Lone Wolf says the Warriors are down only 5 with 4 minutes left in the second. Yeah, but the other team, Anthony Edwards, always gets better in the second half. So I feel like they need to be up right now for me to feel confident, because I think they'll give up like 15 points, like a 15-point run to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think they'll give up like a 15-point run in the second half. So I want them to be up right now. So this actually doesn't make me feel that much better. And then let's be honest, here we should be beating all the teams in our division. The only reason why, because we just found out Brock Purdy can't elevate. And we elevate the game and the defense, and we have Moody. Okay. I think the defense will get better as the season goes on. I'm crossing my fingers, hoping to God that the kicker that they brought in will beat out Jake Moody. I'm not confident about it. Bryant Boyer, is that how you say his name? The new special teams coordinator did talk for the first time like 2 weeks or a week and a half ago, and he gave Jake Moody a bunch of praise, and I was like, no. Oh my God, you guys are going to bring him back. By the way, when Jake Moody was missing all of his kicks 2 seasons ago, I tweeted out that they were going to lose the Super Bowl because Jake Moody was going to miss a kick. Now, they lost the Super Bowl because Kyle Shanahan didn't know the overtime rules. Christian McCaffrey fumbled. Trent Williams had his worst game ever. Nick Bosa didn't do great. But also Jake Moody did miss a field goal, and it sent them to overtime. So I don't want Jake Moody to be on the team, and I didn't like that the new special teams coordinator was giving him a big stamp of approval, but there will be an offseason camp battle, so I'm hoping that the new kicker beats him out. I'll keep you guys updated. I'll be going to the camp, the ones that are open to the fans, this camp. I think the first part of OTA starts late, like the May 30th, and then I think it's like June 10th and 11th or something, but those ones aren't open to the public. I think it's more in August that are open to the public. But I'm going to be mean mugging Jake Moody and willing him to miss his kicks in camp so that the other guy can be on the team, because everyone off the couch made all their kicks. So you can't lose in special teams. Anyways, Moody doesn't have ice in his veins. That's what I'm saying. Like, Bryant Boyer was like, he's the most talented kicker that we've ever seen coming out of college. All other teams would have had him high on the board. I don't care about how talented you are if mentally you shrink. They need a therapist there. And I'm pro therapy, by the way. I'm in therapy. I was a psych major in school. But yeah, they need some mental work for him. Hopefully he's been doing that all offseason. Maybe he'll come back and be better than ever. A lot of kickers are really bad their first year. I think one of the guys that we had off the couch that made our kicks when Jake Moody was he had his ankle injury, so the 49ers signed someone off the couch. Forget his name right now, but it was a guy who was a sophomore, and he did really bad his rookie year. When I'm not speaking well. One of the guys that came in that made all their kicks for Jake Moody last season, the season before, was drafted by the Green Bay Packers. He was a rookie kicker, and he was doing the same thing. He was missing all his kicks because he was in his head. So there's a possibility that Jake Moody gets better, but to me, it's been 2 seasons that they have lost games because of Jake Moody, so you can't chance it. Anyways, I'm going to let you guys go. I love you so much. I'm going to watch the rest of the Warriors game, and then I'll give you a little reaction to that. But I just wanted to break down the 49ers games. Like I said, 13-4 is my prediction. But Tom, someone who I really respect and trust, he has them going 10-7. So more optimistic versus more pessimistic. I feel like I made my reasons known. They have the easiest strength of schedule in all the NFL. They're going against, poor division. And they're facing, the bottom feeders because they were the last in their division. So all the teams they were facing were last in their division. I think the defense is going to get better. The only thing, as the season goes on, I think they might start slow. But when they're starting slow, I think most of the offensive players will be healthy. And maybe as health dwindles for offense, the defense can take over because they'll be hitting their stride. That is what I think. But love you guys so much. Thank you, Papa J. People are saying I talk so fast. I know, I'm trying to end it. Sorry for talking so fast. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys appreciating my enthusiasm. If you haven't, give me a like, give me a subscribe. I'll be bringing you content all off season. This was fun. I haven't gone live in a little bit over a week. and I don't like to do that. So it was fun to get back into the swing of things, and hopefully I'll be, on a better roll as we go. So I appreciate it. Love you guys. If my dad is still watching, love you, Daddy. Bye.